Hello and welcome to another edition of Virginia Wines in Song, the Virginia Notebook YouTube channel, the Virginia Wine Notebook YouTube channel, where we talk about a great Virginia wine, and every Virginia wine is great, so it's kind of hard to pick one. And then we also pair it with an underrated album or CD from the classic rock era, which once again I have just defined between the years of 1964 and 1999. Everybody has their own definition, but that's mine. So, and most of the albums I've focused on in the last couple of installments have been definitely square in line in that era. So we're going to continue with this, and it is now Labor Day weekend of 2025. We've come to the end of a very hot summer. Actually, August has been very mild for the most part. July was a scorcher. We had some crazy storms, a lot of rain, which was good. So I'm talking about the Shenandoah Valley. And the reason I really dwell on the Shenandoah Valley so much is because that's where I live at the moment. So a lot of the wineries I focused on have been from that area, and I'm going to continue. Probably by the end of the year, I'll have every single winery in the Shenandoah Valley reviewed here. So we're going to move on to the Shenandoah Valley, and this is a winery that is very close to the little town of Edinburgh and Mount Jackson. It's off of Route 81, and if you'd rather take Route 11, which runs parallel with Route 81, Interstate 81 can be very truck heavy, and it's a little intimidating for a lot of people, myself included. I prefer to take Route 11, which is a US highway that runs parallel with 81, but you're actually going to go west of that. You're going to go west of that to the this little area called, I'm not really sure if there's a town there, but it's near Shenandoah Caverns, and it's near Mount Jackson, and it's near Edinburgh. There are a couple little villages around there. There's a village called Quicksburg, and another village called Connickville, I think Connickville. Anyway, your small little crossroads, blink and you'll miss them. So anyway, the wine I'm going to be talking about today, the winery I'm talking about today is the winery at Kindred Point. This is a winery that's built in an old horse stables, and in the last couple of years they opened up an additional tasting room. So it's a very large property. It's one of the bigger wineries in the Shenandoah Valley. And they have a very, I think they also have a lot of weddings there, so it's kind of a wedding venue as well. Like I said, the original tasting room is in an old horse stable. They totally renovated, so you don't smell the horses or anything anymore, but they have a lot of horses on their label. Their horse motif is all over their wine. And this wine is called Run for the Rosé. Again, keeping in line with the horses theme. And this is, of course, a rosé. So I really like Virginia rosés. This is another really good one. They're dry. I haven't had a Virginia rosé yet that's been sweet. Maybe there have been a couple that have been off dry, but I can still drink them. If they're off dry, they're very good to have chilled. They're very good to have with like spicy dishes, like Indian food and even Mexican food and Asian food, Japanese food, and Chinese food, etc. Those are really good for a semi-dry rosé. But for a regular dry rosé, you can probably drink this warm, room temperature, or you can drink it chilled in the refrigerator. And this particular wine it's described on their website as a soft, smooth rosé with melon and tropical fruit on the nose, like strawberry and rhubarb. Rhubarb, interesting. And it is a dry rosé. And although for the people who are budget conscious, you can spend a lot of money in a Virginia winery. I mean, let's face the facts. Virginia wine has really gone up in price. I mean, I remember back in the day, 20 odd years ago, when you could get a good bottle of Virginia Red for less than $20. Those days are long gone. But rosés are usually pretty well priced. Sometimes you can even find them for less than $20. So if you really want to stock up on a lot of Virginia wine, you can go the rosé route. And don't let the old Kool-Aid analogy or Boone's Farm analogy turn you off rosé, because I've met a lot of people through the years who've been turned on to Virginia rosé, and they always say the same thing. I expected it to be a lot sweeter. I expected it to be like Kool-Aid, and it's not. It is a very dry style. And this time of year is probably good to chill even a dry one, but you can drink a dry one at room temperature. Run for the Rosé. Really cool name for a horse-themed winery. And I'm going to do something unusual for me. I'm going to actually talk about two different wines from them because I have a couple of bottles I bought from them. They had a special deal, buy two, get two for half price or something like that recently. So I got a couple of bottles from them. But I'll just go through what they have currently. And for whites, they have the rosé listed in their white section. And I guess that's understandable because a rosé is a very light wine and people equate it with more of a white style. They also have a Sauvignon Blanc, and they have something called Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc skins. I don't think that's a wine style though. So I think currently the only white wines according to the website they have is Sauvignon Blanc and Run for the Rosé. This place is known mainly for their reds, at least in my opinion. I think their reds are really what make them really wonderful. And anyway, I think I'm on the wrong page of their website. Yeah, the website doesn't. Unfortunately, some winery websites are a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit cluttered with a lot of different options. And sometimes it's hard to find where to go when you go to their website. Okay, so I stand corrected. They have a Sauvignon Blanc, a Petit Manzang, and a Chardonnay for their white selection. Currently, the reds are Chambourcin, Dornfelder. Dornfelder is kind of a German style. It does really well in the Shenandoah Valley. They have that as well. They have a Petit Verdot, of course. And most Virginia wineries have a Petit Verdot. I don't see a Cab Franc currently on their list. And again, I may be looking at a different menu. They've got like 5 different wine menus on their website. So I'm not sure which one to go to. So anyway, if their webmaster is seeing this video, you may want to. And your website's a little confusing. But anyway, the wine though is great. Just drop in. You'll find something that you'll like. The red wine that I want to talk about is this red blend. It's simply called red wine, and it's named Felix. I'm not sure what the blend of this. I'm sure there's probably, I think there's Chambourcin in this. I'm pretty sure there's Chambourcin. Probably a little Petit Verdot as well. Maybe some Cab Franc if they have a Cab Franc, but I don't see Cab Franc on their menu, so maybe they don't have Cab Franc. But anyway, this is a very good one. This is a good everyday. I wouldn't really call it a table wine. To me, a table wine kind of brings up the table wine. To me, invokes kind of cheaper style wine with a screw top. I mean, I don't want to insult this wine and call it a table wine, although probably a lot of people are okay with that label. I prefer just to call it a red wine, and that's what it's labeled as, Virginia red wine, and it's named Felix because they had a cat on their premises at one time named Felix. And I actually met Felix when I first went to this winery, I think in 2014, 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. I think they opened in, let me see, maybe that's on their website, about. Let's see when they opened here. They opened in, okay, their first crop was planted in 2008. Looks like 2014, 2012, 2013, 2014. Some of that area time frame is when their original tasting room was opened. Like I said, the original tasting room was in a horse stable. So I met Felix when I first went there. He came over and hung out with me for a little while. He's unfortunately, passed because I think he was probably getting up there when I met him back in 2013 or so. They have got other cats there on the premises. So most wineries that are out in the country will have several cats hanging around. Of course, they probably have a couple of dogs as well. But the cats are a little bit more elusive, of course, so you may not always see them. And yeah, Felix is actually on their website. I just saw a scrolling picture of Felix pass by on their website here. So anyway, I like this wine. I'm a cat person, so having a cat on the label is always a plus. But the wine is really great, and I need to see if they've got a Cab Franc, because if they don't have a Cab Franc, it will be the first winery I've ever seen in Virginia that doesn't have a Cab Franc. I'll go to their order section. Okay, online store. Okay, I'm on their online store, so I should be able to give a good description. Picasso, which is a red blend. Chambourcin, Sauvignon Blanc, Petit Verdot, Chambourcin, a straight ahead Chambourcin. Cab Sauv, they've got a Cab Sauv. Cab Franc, I knew they would have a Cab Franc. They've got a Cab Franc, Petit Manzang, and they have this Felix here. Okay, so Felix is a blend of Chambourcin, Petit Verdot, so you got 2 of them right, and Sauvignon Blanc. So there's a little bit of white in here. So this could be classified as a table wine because table wine usually is a blend of sometimes whites and reds. But I would like to have this with a pasta dish or maybe even pizza. So I wouldn't really call it a table red. I don't know. The term table red to me, I just think of Gallo and those California wines that were heavily advertised back in the 80s. So anyway, that's the wine. The winery at Kindred Point. We got Run for the Rosé, and we have Felix Table Red. Oh my God, I just said table red. I said I wouldn't use that term. I may sound like I'm a little loaded, and I'm not, because it's only 3 o'clock, and maybe I should have had a couple of glasses before shooting this video. I probably would have been as tongue-tied. So anyway, we're going to move on down to the album. And I always try to find a tie-in between the wine. Now, if I hadn't already focused on Dan Fogelberg, a couple of months ago I shot a video on a Dan Fogelberg album. This would have been a great wine to pair with that because he had a song called Run for the Roses. So I already talked about that Dan Fogelberg, so can't talk about him again. I couldn't really find a tie-in. So I'll just go with an album that they just recently re-released on Super CD. High quality, highfalutin SACD. SACD is Super CD. It's one level above CD. If you still have a CD player, and I know a lot of people don't, but if you still have a CD player, you can still play an SACD if you buy an SACD. But if you have an SACD player, which plays both CDs and SACDs, you're going to hear a lot more. It's almost like the studio is there in your living room. The musicians are right there. It's so pure. SACD players are not cheap. I think the lowest priced ones are I think $1,400, and they can go as high as $18,000. I've seen SACDs for $18,000. You've got to have a lot of freaking money if you're going to spend $18,000 on a CD player, even if it's an SACD player. But anyway, this album was just released as part of a series on SACD just this week, as a matter of fact. But I also have this album on vinyl, and this is a band that has been around for a long time. This is Genesis, and Genesis was one of the early prog rock bands. Their first albums, I think, came out in 1969 or 1970. This is Foxtrot, and this album came out, I believe, in 1972. And once again, I'm totally mystified by why they don't put the years of release on these album remasters. Foxtrot, Genesis. You're not going to fool anybody into thinking that it's a new album. 1972. I was right. This came out in 1972, and this is probably their first really classic record. Even though I call it underrated, people don't really talk about this album as much because the later Genesis, the years that were dominated by Phil Collins, they tend to get most of the attention. This is the Peter Gabriel era. Peter Gabriel era. I told you I'm tongue-tied, and I don't know why. Maybe because I'm talking about two of my favorite things, wine and music. It gets me excited. So this is the Peter Gabriel era, and they had 3 albums that came before this. The album right before this was the album called Nursery Crime. And Nursery Crime, their artwork on their albums, by the way, are very interesting. Even the albums from the Phil Collins years, once again, album was really an art form, especially when you have these true artists, not just musicians, but just artists in every sense of the word. Peter Gabriel, Mike Rutherford, Tony Banks, and Phil Collins, and also Steve Hackett. Okay, knew I remember his name. Those were the original members of Genesis, and they're all on this album. So what really makes the bulk of this album is a song called Supper's Ready. Supper's Ready is a song that is, I believe it's 27 or 28 minutes long. And this is still sealed. I bought a sealed copy of this at a used record store. And I didn't break the seal because I don't have a really good turntable now, so I'm going to hang on to it until I get a good turntable. So I managed to keep it in the seal. If I had the seal broken, I would check to see, but I believe that the song Supper's Ready takes up the entire side of side 2. Although there was a song before that, a little instrumental, that Steve Hackett did called Horizons, which is only like a minute long. So that's probably the prelude to Supper's Ready. So I'm pretty sure that Supper's Ready takes up all of side 2. But and what's really fascinating to me about that song Supper's Ready is they did it in concert. Back when Peter Gabriel was still in the band, they did Supper's Ready in concert, and it's a very complicated, it's almost like a piece of classical music. It goes in all these different directions, there are all these different movements, and the theme Supper's Ready, I'm not really sure why they even call it that, because they talk about Supper's Ready at the beginning and the end of the song, maybe that's why. But it's a very Pink Floyd-esque song, and Pink Floyd was really, really big around this era, so I think there was some competition from Genesis. In fact, I believe that Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which came out in 1975, I believe that album was sort of a precursor to The Wall, because there are similarities, I think, between Lamb Lies Down and Broadway and The Wall. You know, a lot of the prog rock people are out there saying, oh my God, there's no way to compare those two. Well, everybody has their own opinion. So anyway, this album, and it was just released on SACD, Super CD, this past week. This is the SACD. Like I said, you can play this on any CD player, and it probably sounds great. Probably sounds better than a regular CD if you just have a regular CD player. But if you have an SACD player, it'll blow you away. I have a combo Blu-ray and SACD player, and I think it's pretty good. I don't think the SACD playing quality is as great as something for $18,000 would be, but who's going to pay that for just to listen to this? It's a great record to hear even on vinyl or even on a non-remastered CD. The first song on this is Watcher of the Skies. And the reason I'm drawing a blank is I've been playing a lot of Genesis lately, because when this CD came out this week, I decided to go into all the other Genesis CDs. So I played Wind and Wuthering and a couple other CDs yesterday. So I have those songs on my mind right now, because it's been a couple of days since I listened to this. So I'm on a Genesis kick. And that's a good kick to be on. Great album. And again, totally amazing that they were able to do this song in concert. I don't think Peter Gabriel will ever rejoin Genesis, and unfortunately Phil Collins is ill. I think he's got some serious, he's got a bone, a real serious illness. He can't sit behind a drum kit anymore. So unfortunately we're not going to probably see any concerts with Phil Collins. You can still see Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel does solo tours, but I don't think he'll ever get back with Genesis unless they decide to do some kind of tribute to Phil Collins. Hopefully, I think Phil Collins his organs are fine, his mind is fine. It's just his body. He was sitting behind drums for too many years in his life, and it screwed up his spine, I think. So he has a hard time getting around. He has a hard time walking. But I think everything else is fine. So he'll probably be around for a while. But we probably won't see him in concert. So anyway, Foxtrot. It is fox hunt country, kind of. I think they do some fox hunts in the Shenandoah Valley. I know they do fox hunts in the Middleburg area of Virginia. I probably should have found a wine from the Middleburg area. That probably would have gone well with Foxtrot. But I don't happen to have any wines right now from the Middleburg area, so we're just going to have to make do with the Winery at Kindred Point and Foxtrot by Genesis. Listen to it in vinyl. If you can find a used copy of it somewhere, get the vinyl or get the CD. Have an open mind. Do not expect, even later, Peter Gabriel, if you love Lamb Lies Down on Broadway and Selling England by the Pound, if you like Selling England by the Pound, you will like this, because they're both kind of whimsical in the same way. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which is the last album Peter Gabriel did with Genesis, by the way. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway is a different type of animal altogether, not totally a scary album, I think. I love it, but it is definitely unique. This is nothing like that. So if you're used to Lamb Lies Down and you love that album, this may be a hard listen at first, but if you like prog rock and you like bands like Pink Floyd and Yes and ELP and King Crimson, there's definitely some great parallels to be made. Jethro Tull, you will like this. So anyway, I thank you for watching this, even though I was a little bit tongue-tied. I hope you have a great Labor Day, and we'll see you soon.